How's it going, everyone? This is Shankia signing on. In this video, I'll be giving you an updated and more detailed basket weaving tutorial. There are a few factors that prompted me to make this video. First and foremost, I haven't done a tutorial in quite a while, and I want to be more consistent with video posting to give my subscribers what they came for. The next reason is because my previous basket weaving tutorials aren't in the best quality because I wasn't that equipped tool-wise or script-wise. And the last reason I'm making this video is because I've seen the viewer success of my previous tutorials, and I obviously want to keep that viewership rising. Ultimately, I just want to take my YouTube channel more seriously, especially in seeing how YouTube and social media in general are helping millions of people launch not only successful careers, but also more fulfilled lifestyles. The first thing, and perhaps the most important thing that I want to show you, is the materials needed to make these coil baskets. Yarn is number one. I'd like to say that any yarn will do, as I have said in the past. However, that isn't entirely true, as some yarn is meant strictly for making softer, more delicate things like stuffed animals, quilts, beanies, while other yarn is meant more for the sturdier crafts like these baskets. And the yarn that has worked best for me, the yarn that has been my go-to, would include this Trait Tex heavy polyester rug yarn and this sugar and cream cotton yarn. Sorry that I don't have the label for you guys. These work well for me because they have a tougher, more rugged texture, which is what you want when it comes to making these baskets because it holds together better. Now, you can find sugar and cream yarn in most brick and mortar stores like Walmart, Joann, Michaels, but for a one-stop shop, they both can be found on Amazon as well as the Blick Art Materials website, of which I'll provide you with a link in the description box. The next thing you'll need is some coiling cord or thick twine. Let me just get this out of the way for you. This is how it looks. This is just a piece of it, of course. Much easier to work with the coiling cord. You can find it in three sizes: 3/4 of an inch, 1/4 an inch, and 1/2 an inch. I usually use 1/4 of an inch, which is the smallest and possibly the easiest to work with. These can also be found on either Amazon or Blick. The last few items you'll need include scissors, glue, preferably fabric glue. Aleene's clear tacky glue is a good choice. And finally, a weaving needle. This is a 4-pack. One is missing because I have it set to be used pretty soon. Just look like a bigger version of a sewing needle, but with a more dull point, so you won't stick yourself so bad. So the first thing you'll want to do is gather the colors or the color yarn that you plan to use to make your basket. Typically, I'd like to use about 100 colors, but for the sake of this video, I'll just use one. I'm gonna use the red. Get your coiling cord ready. Be sure to cut off the amount that you want to start with. It's best to start with a small amount too, so you won't have so much material in your way and it'll be easier to work. Of course, you can always add on to the ends later. Your dominant hand, or the side that you lean toward the most, is the direction that you'll be weaving the basket. For me, it's clockwise. It's clockwise like this, so I'll be going to the right. Next, cut off the amount of yarn that you want to use. Try not to make the strand too long because this can lead to tangling. As you see here, I already have a pre-cut piece. To just stretch a piece across the length of your arms and chest, and that'll be a good amount that that you can start with. Once you get more experienced with making the baskets, then you can start using like super long pieces, you know, especially if you develop the patience to deal with unraveling it. Loop the yarn through the eye of the weaving needle Making sure it is even at the ends, like this. Put the two ends of the yarn at the start of the rope, like this. Make it nice and even. Hold it down until you're ready to either burn it or glue it. For the sake of safety for both you and your surroundings, I suggest using glue. Some yarn textures are easier to burn or glue than others. That is why I choose the two brands mentioned earlier, the Trait Tex and the Sugar and Cream. This is Trait Tex right here, and Trait Tex yarn sticks to the rope better once it's been burned, and the Sugar and Cream yarn works better when glued because it's a cotton material. So I'm going to grab the lighter and I'm going to just briefly hold the fire or hold the flame to the ends of the yarn. Boom, right there. And see there? Now I can let it go. It's stuck to the rope now. Like I said, if you want, you can glue it, but when it comes to Trait Tex, I learned that burning it is more efficient. Keep in mind that you do not have to use fire or glue at all. You can always simply tuck the yarn under and hide the frays, hide the ends. This method is a little more frustrating though because the ends won't always stay. Therefore, I suggest simply using a lighter or glue because it makes it look neater and you don't have to worry about it coming loose as much. After you've either tucked, glued, or burned the yarn down to the rope, keep wrapping the yarn around the rope for about an inch or so down, like this, over, under, over, under. I'm just gonna do probably a few more. There we go. Okay. Now fold or bend the rope into a small loop that looks sort of like a horseshoe or a U-turn, like this. After that, take the leftover yarn and bring it over and around the loop to secure it so you can let it go just like that. Then continue to wrap around for about another inch or so until you're about halfway around the loop. And as you're doing this, you're gonna be sort of bending the rope to get that circular motion going. It's sort of coming loose at the start, but that's okay. If that happens, you can always just sort of like play with it to get it back right. Or you can always like start over, which isn't a big deal when you're in the beginning stages of making the basket. Now take your weaving needle and stick it through the space created from the horseshoe, which would be here. Pull. And boom, now you got it. Now it's starting to form a spiral. Repeat this process until you have almost reached the end of your yarn. Once you get close, I would say like this close, maybe like when you have an inch of of yarn left. Snip the weaving needle loose like this, and just go ahead and like finish off wrapping the remaining yarn, and then go ahead and burn it or glue it again. Now, whenever you get to the end of your rope, if you want to attach more, there are several ways that you can do it. One way is by using a glue gun. Another way is using really thin tape. Glue gun is best from my experience, and all you have to do is put a little dot of glue to one end and take the other bit of rope that you want to add and just do just like that, almost like you're connecting plugs or plugging in something or whatever you want to call it, and just, hold it for a few seconds. Depending on how strong or how good the glue is, it'll dry within seconds. Most of the time when you work with glue gun, it dries really, really fast, which is awesome. Now, make sure that when you're connecting the new piece, make sure it's in alignment direction wise with the other piece. Like, for example, I wouldn't glue it like this to where it's going all weird ways. You see how it's making like an S shape? You don't want it to do that. You want it to continue in that spiral pattern like this, to where it looks like so after you have glued it, it looks like you never even added it on there. You want it to look like you never had to add anything, almost like it was a direct continuation in the spiral or circular pattern. Along with this, someone asked me how I might do an oval shaped basket. To do that, you would simply bend or mold the rope into the shape you're gunning for early on in your weaving process. So to do an oval shape, you would probably have to, no, not probably, you would have to go a little further down with wrapping the yarn. I would say you would probably have to go to maybe here or something, so that once you bend it, it'll be a more elongated horseshoe, a more elongated U-turn. And so you would just keep on doing it like that. It would start looking like this. That's more elongated. That's a more elongated U than the more short, stout one that we did earlier that looked like this. Doing it like this will get you that traditional circular pattern. And you would do the same thing if you wanted to do a square shaped basket. You would just bend or mold the rope into the shape that you're trying to get. Like, for example, this is how the square shaped one would look. Now, the only problem with the square shaped one is that depending on how tight you can make that square, it would leave a big hole in the middle, and you really want to avoid doing that. Same thing with a triangular shaped basket. Those are harder to do. They're a lot more challenging than the traditional circular shaped baskets, which is what I do and what I stick with, simply because they're easier to make. But that is how you would do an oval shaped basket or any other shapes, to the person who asked me about that, which was an awesome question. I never really tried doing other shapes. All right, folks, the next thing I want to show you is how to start the ascent, or work your way up, so that the basket can develop some form. Now, I have a piece here that I've been currently working on, in which I am ready to start the ascent. Now, I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I like for my baskets to be even. And the way I figured that out, the way I determine that is I start from the center of the basket and I count the number of rounds that I've done on either side. It doesn't matter if I go here, count this way, that way, whatever. As long as they're all the same amount, I know that I've got it even. So I'll start from, for example, right here, and I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have 11 rounds that way. Now let me make sure I have 11 rounds this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so I've got it even. So that means even if I count the other radiuses or whatever you call it, it should be the same amount. And the pattern that I chose, this is how I determine my patterns. And the pattern that I chose here is 3 rounds of white, 1, 2, 3, 1 round of blue. And see, I stop it right there before I continue again because I wanted it to just be 1 round of blue, not 2. If I were to continue, I would have came back around and stopped right there. That way I would have had 2 rounds of blue. And after the blue, I do 3 rounds of white again, another round of blue, 3 white again, and now I'm ready to work on a blue round and go up. So I've got this piece here. Over here is where I stopped to get that even amount of white. Now, I'm going to put this under here. Okay, see, that's where I stopped with the white. Get a little closer so you guys can see. And so I'm going to take, since this is the trait text yarn and it does better with the burning, I'm going to burn it. Just hold the flame on there for a little bit. Boom, got it. Okay. And now I'm gonna work my way up. And all you have to do when it comes to working your way up, do you see? I'm gonna try to get this even. Do you see how this is like continuing straight, like flat? To work your way up, all you got to do is just move it up a little bit, just like that. Now, do you see how it's not aligned? It's not flat anymore now. Now I've moved it up. See the difference? Flat. Now I'm going up. All you got, it's just a subtle movement. And it's amazing how that subtle adjusting of the rope allows you to start your ascent. See how it's going now? And the more of those that you do, you'll start seeing more and more shape, more and more form to your basket. The last thing I want to show you guys is how to close out your basket or how to finish it off. I'll use this one that I've been working on. It's perfect timing too, because I was just about finished with it anyway. So remember when I said I was a perfectionist and I like to have an even amount of rounds? Here I have this Jamaican flag color basket where I do 3 rounds of each color and I close it out with green. So you see on either side, all the way around, I have 3 rounds of green. 3 rounds of green. And now I've reached the end of it here. I don't want to keep going because I don't want to make a 4th round. You see how if I were to keep going, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to close it out right here. So all you have to do is snip off a little bit of the top of the last bit of coiling core like this, so that it can sort of be almost like it's on a slope, so that it'll look like it's, once you finish wrapping the yarn around, it'll look like it's blending into the rope underneath it. So I would just keep wrapping this last bit of round around until I've covered all of the white space. You can add a little bit more if you need. And then what I would do is I would just secure it down by either gluing or burning it. Same thing like you did with the previous times. And that's about it, guys. I'm running out of time, so I want to thank you for watching. To my current subscribers, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. If you're new, welcome to my channel. Here you'll find videos mostly dedicated to the arts and crafts with a special focus on coil baskets. If you like what you see in here, feel free to thumbs up, comment, or subscribe, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified right away when I post a vid. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.